So, what is really stopping you from making your next film? Welcome to Feature Film in a Year, breaking down the process and busting the myths of making a movie. The penultimate excuse: no one will ever watch my film. Is that real? is that a real excuse?
I think that's a real excuse, right? But it suggests a reason for why you're making the film, which I think perhaps is the bigger issue.
Yeah. Because filmmakers historically who've had a vision to do things, the immediate reception, whether that was their family and friends or kind of culture more widely, it's not doesn't equate to the quality or what the film was saying. It's not necessary. So you have to have some anchor, which is a reason why you're doing it. Which I think essentially is because you need to do something. You want to say something. You want to achieve. You want to send a message out there.
This is what I want to achieve.
So I think really you don't do it for other people to a certain degree.
That's helpful. I see what you're saying.
You do it for yourself.
And
you make something that you would want to watch. I think essentially.
I feel like that's the best. I feel like that's like the breeding ground of good ideas, because you're like, I don't have the pressure of a massive studio kind of hounding me for like a great story. I don't have the pressure of a huge budget I've spent that I've got to make loads of money back. Actually, I've just got my passion and my drive and my little thing that I want to do. I think that's really freeing at the beginning.
For your first indie feature, essentially, there's none of those things. Yeah. And I think that maybe the further that you go on, there can be the potential for more of those things to stipulations, essentially, if it's other people's money. And you hear different filmmakers deal with that in different ways. But I think definitely for your first feature, it's like, right, I'm doing this because I want to, I need to, I have something I believe in, which isn't the easiest, it's not the easiest thing to continue, but as we were saying about, I think that drive yourself, but also someone else that can encourage you, inspire you.
Is that something that's helping you guys at the start of this feature film in a year? Like, would that be where you're at?
Yeah, for me, I think it is, because I mean, we have talked about like the balance between making a film that has some kind of commercial potential. Like, if you're able to sell a film and make your budget back, then that means you're able to make the next film. So there is a benefit to having a film that people do actually end up wanting to watch. I think that is important.
Yes,
but if you just like put all your focus on and all your hopes on, if this film doesn't like get viewed by millions of people, if it doesn't go viral, if it doesn't get into the cinemas, then I'm done. Well, then that's just a real shame.
So well said, though.
Because filmmaking is not about how much people get to see the thing.
I'm a big proponent of this like 1,000 mega fans idea. Don't know if you guys have heard of that, or if you guys have heard of that.
Have you got 1,000 mega fans?
No, I haven't. But like,
they could.
That would be great. Let's get them now. But this idea of like, if you've got 1,000 people who just adore your output, they hands down will keep buying the stuff you put out. Then actually, for me, that was super helpful, because you've just, as I'm a fellow creative singer-songwriter, and it's just really helpful. Like, I'm not trying to like take control of the world. I'm not trying to like have a billion followers, because at that point you're just like, I'm never going to achieve that, so I give up before I start. But like, actually, if I've got 100 people this year, 350 people next year, like, actually that's kind of all I want. I just want to keep growing slowly, and the people who care about my stuff, that's the only people I care about. In that sense.
And as Joe said, like, if you're making a film that you would personally want to watch,
I think essentially
it will connect with some people.
I think so. Like in terms of that thing,
niche or
you don't want to like shut off, essentially, not be open to anything, be so arrogant that you think that my idea is the best thing.
I don't care what people think.
I think when it boils down, if you're writing, you're like, and what could be what could be good now then, and then what will people like then, and then what will be good. It's similar to like, as a person, you can't really be that person of like, you know, making sure everyone is
like people
is okay, you know, and stuff. And you got to be like, oh, I'm just going to try and be myself. And just So I think that there's a parallel there with what you want to do. Like in reality, you do have to bear in mind, you know, starting off as a film. There's definitely a tension between the two, but I think you can't really go wrong in terms of making stuff that you're happy with yourself, learning, being humble with that in terms of knowing it's not necessarily going to be the perfect thing. And I think another point that we've talked about is not being too precious about like that this has got to be essentially the best ever thing that's ever been, you know, on screen. You want to achieve something, and then that's going to be anyone that's achieved, you know, it's the classic scientist thing of like was it Einstein or something? Found you know, 1,000 or however many ways
he hasn't failed.
That didn't work. I think if you can, and that's a big thing for me in terms of not being too precious about everything or having everything worked out. Actually, you've just got to you know, make the next step and then just roll.
Tweak as you go.
Filmmaking just seems to be that thing. You have to just roll with the punches, physical ones sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Very real.
All is forgiven.
But you hear even top, you know, or the famous filmmakers, something changing within location, time. You know, there's far more politics and stuff involved when there's millions of dollars things involved with. They have to move and they have to change and they have to grow from those barriers, those things that come off that could potentially stop that. And that's a principle I think you take all the way up, and something that will help you, you know, and help get it done.
Yeah, again, that's the thing for us this year, isn't it? Just however we can help to just get it done. So what I'd like to just really quickly add to this little thing is just that encouragement and reminder of like, we're in a new era for sure in kind of world history. Like, I feel like this is the era for independent artists. Like, actually, there are the gatekeepers that were there 30, 40 years ago in the filmmaking industry, well, in any entertainment industry, they're not necessarily around as much before, and those barriers are being pulled down. And so that people can, there's Vimeo and YouTube, like you can actually put your film out to people.
Because of the internet, right?
Yeah, basically. So yeah, like what would be your experience on that? Like, has that helped get rid of that excuse? Like, no one will ever see it. Well, actually, I know 20 people saw it because I put it on YouTube.
That is true. Like, one of the, to keep going back to them, one of the features these last few years, Anadonia. Mike Henry, the director, has put it up on Amazon Prime.
Wow, and that's possible.
Yeah. So you can kind of get it onto Amazon Prime for free, I think, and then depending on how many streams you get, you can even begin to make minute amounts of money back.
Is what it is. Every little helps.
But I mean, the cool thing about that is I've just been watching that kind of from a distance. But even with it just being on there without extra promotion, I think.
Wow.
People are still stumbling across it because you've got the recommendations. You know, if you watch this movie, then you might like this one. And so just based on the genres that he's tagged it with, he's had people coming in, watching the film, leaving good reviews, which is encouraging.
That is a huge.
It's out there. You know?
So it's a reality. Basically, you can
get
stumble across a bit of
something out there. I think it's that double thing for me in terms of it's exactly as you say. You know, artists can essentially get their stuff out there, which is an inspiring thing. It's like I can do something, I can get it out there, and then it's like feeding back to the thing that we're saying that no one will ever watch it because there's such a sea.
You know,
we're all on Netflix.
Double-edged sword, isn't it?
You know, no, not that one. And so then it's like, so how do I? You know, if as a filmmaker, it's like, how is this gonna stand out somewhere? But I think essentially it does boil back to making something that's coming from your own voice, your own what you would want to watch. Essentially, is close to that. Bearing in mind some of those things, I think it's maybe that it's that double thing between purely, you know, someone who's going to direct and write something, and then how it's going to be packaged, which is slightly different roles. But as an indie filmmaker, you've got to kind of bear in mind all those different
Yeah.
things really to help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you said, that tension between those different things. So it's an inspiration, Ben, and there's a sea of stuff out there.
Yeah.
But actually, the whole
Yeah.
thing of like getting a film, releasing it, like the guys, the Anadonia guys did,
Yeah.
you can do something and get it there
Yeah.
in front of people.
Well, I want to just add an encouragement to that. Like, it's almost like excuse 4.2. Like, no one's going to see it because there's this huge sea of stuff. Like, how is my thing going to help? People don't need me. There's already amazing, Christopher Nolan's in the world. But like, I just want to really encourage, like, for any creative in any art form, just, you've got a story. Like, every life is super important, and every life is an amazing story to tell, whether it's, traditional or non-traditional. It really doesn't matter. You've got a story, and filmmaking is all about telling story. It's all about that. So never put yourself in that place of like, nobody wants to hear my story, or my story doesn't matter. It's just not true. Even if only 100 people see it, like, they saw your story, they saw a bit of your life. And
yeah, and if you're doing it essentially for yourself in terms of just putting something out there and believing in it, then that helps, because you're not dictated to by the reaction of other people. Because that's
that kind of modern day insecurity.
any artistic thing. You've got to be able to try and do that.
Yep.
But generally, there's the creative artists, people, filmmakers, musicians, whoever. You can have those ones that self-doubt is like, and then the kind of belief and arrogance is,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it is. There's two different extremes often.
Yeah.
I'm both of those at the same time.
Yeah.
You've probably all met like people at both ends of the spectrum.
I think
probably been people at both
Yeah,
ends of the
exactly.
spectrum.
Yeah, I think you have to own it, being that. But but yeah, trying to get that balance.